secured. And nice to see that means on time there are a lot of people have gathered here. So before wasting time, I would like to start rather than talking about all the other stuff. I am starting from the content. And before that, I will take a little time to tell you about the agenda today. And first we have some introductory session to IoT, and then we will talk about some practical stuff. And it's an interesting project, and you will see some demos and some technical stuff there, what are the challenges and how we overcome those. And we have set up a small prototype here. If someone interested on this, after our session, you can come and talk with our guys who think that should work. And then our main keynote speech and our network engineering, Mr. Aruna will deliver that. And after that, our GM will tell you about how they are going to cover this event in the future as well. So then the Q&A, so you can take your questions to all our guys and the technical people, and we will answer with our candidates. So we will go to the first stuff from this history. This is 1990s, and most of you have heard about this, and some of you have experienced this. This era, internet was built with only places. That means static web pages representing their details in the internet, and mostly organizations, schools, and the companies likewise. So we call this era Internet of Places, because first-class citizens of the internet were organizations or the places. So if we talk about numbers, it is around 5 million, as I can remember. And then it comes to 2000s, most of that is our era, that Google and some others dominate. So in this era, normally people started to represent in the internet. That means we had our representations in the internet, not single representation, there are several. As an example, if we take ourselves, we have Facebook, Twitter, and Gmail, YouTube, everything representing ourselves in the internet. So this era, we called this Internet of People, because first-class citizens of the internet were people. And if we talk about numbers, this is nearly 5 billion. So then, before we move to the next era of this Internet of Things, so we will talk about a little bit how these adoptions took place that means how fast they reached 50 million users. First, it took 38 years for radio, and then 13 years to television, 4 years to computer, 8 years to mobile phone, and look at the last one. Less than 1 year, Internet of Places, that is Facebook, reached 50 million. Now we are coming to the present and the future, Internet of Things. So not like in 2000s, now we are not the first class citizens in the internet. Things or the devices are going to take that place. If we talk about numbers, these are the Gartner and Cisco predictions. So by 2015, it is nearly 15 billion. And 2020, Cisco says this, 40 billion. So all these are connected devices, and all them are representing in the internet themselves. So that is why things are growing, and this is what we call the present, and the future will be Internet of Things. So we are passing few generations in the internet. So suddenly, what are the main ingredients of this revolution? Why this revolution? People are talking about this revolution this much. These are the two main ingredients: microcontrollers and the sensors. That means microcontrollers, that is the brain part of that, and they does all the computation stuff, and that is the intelligence of the devices. And then the sensors, those are like our hands and mouth and all the input and output. So those together did a big thing in to these dumb devices, and therefore those can be identified as main ingredients of this revolution. We talk more about this in the upcoming sessions. So, if you talk about sensors, at least almost all things, now people have sensors. That means it is, I think, it is possible in next few years, you will get a sensor. That means you will wear a sensor that which can identify who is the fitting correct match for you or the correct fit for you. That means almost it is possible. Think when it's a kind of, you will wear something like that in the future. So therefore, a special thing here is for this revolution, day by day they are getting cheaper and cheaper by that means for the capabilities they are getting richer and richer, accuracy and everything, efficiency, and by price it is getting cheaper and cheaper, and the form factor as well getting smaller and smaller. So therefore this field, actually rather than microcontrollers, this is the driving factor as I according to my opinion. So take a simple example. Normally this is S7 series BMW or S-Class Benz has more than 100 processors in it and tons of sensors. So this guy, Atmega, got big attraction during last few years, especially with Arduino. We'll talk about that later. And this is how these things are coming into the picture. So when I'm talking about this stuff, you will, especially I was talking about IoT and you may wondering why it's suddenly, because this home automation, especially these HVAC lighting and blind systems, security systems were there in the market and in the normal public consumption. Why suddenly people talk about IoT? Because a few decades ago we had those. It's an all field because it is now obsolete. Those are the questions. Those are the questions I got. Because now suddenly people started to talk about IoT and those devices, sensors, everything. But what about the old normal home automation systems, X10, that means Honeywell kind of systems? That means even though they were there, there's something missing. That missing part was the key thing to this boom of this IoT. So, can you guess what is missing there? Yes. Because all these devices are intelligent, they can do computation, you can control them using some module, some wireless or your module. But what is the difference? What is the missing part here? So now, these days, we are talking about these 3C devices. 3C means control, compute and communication. This communication part was missing with these old home automation systems. I will take an example. That means assume you have a HVAC or a lightning or home theater system in your house. That means take an HVAC system. That means air conditioning and all this stuff. You can't control those systems over the internet or from the outside the home. What you can do is go to the home and get the remote and then control it. So all these devices have this control and computing, but that they misses this communication part. So nowadays, when it comes to IoT devices, all these IoT devices should have these three things. There are some other attractions as well, but at least you should have these things. Especially this communication. All the other two parts are obviously available, but this communication part should be there to be an IoT device. So normal and special thing is, that means previously when we are doing those systems and when we want this communication part embedded to that, it's a big task and you have to do lots of engineering there, and devices are not that much good and form factor wise ugly, geeky devices. But with this, especially the introduction of Arduino, all these 3C capabilities were shipped into a very small form factor and for a very cheap price. Not cheap, but it's not that much cost. So because there's a nice video I have shared in the IoT Facebook page, to especially talk about this story about Arduino, and you will see what are the challenges they had those days, especially when they wanted to build 3C device like that, and how they overcome that. Because when you go to, if you refresh your mind to all days, if you have done some electronics or physics, you know how hard it is to program microcontroller, how expensive those devices. That means you can't do that personally, because you have to go to a university lab or somewhere to experience that. But with this introduction, especially Arduino, Raspberry Pi and those devices, they make those things very easy and very, that means, cost effective. So therefore, if not they are fixing this communication stuff, those guys fix that is most of the practical stuff. They have given solution, that means cost and the usage. So not like old days, now with these set of 3C army devices, it is very easy to do the programming. Yes, those days you had to learn some assembly or C like language to program to these devices, but especially with Raspberry Pi and the Edison, you can use one, that is your favorite high-level language, something like Node, Python, Java, .NET. So that means programming was not that much hard these days, especially with these devices, because that is a big driving factor to get these especially software engineers to this field. Otherwise, those days normally software engineers are not involved in such work. They are just dealing with high-level languages. But with these set of tools, they bridge that gap, and lots of people entered in this field, and that is why this boom happened. So, I mentioned this 3C is mandatory, but if you have something addition to those 3C, those are adding, that means, big value to these 3C devices, that means IoT devices. Normally, these are the 4 factors, that means 4 other major factors I can talk, that means which are adding some more value in addition to the 3Cs, that means self-learning. Self-learning means it should be very simple and easy to work with that. That means you don't need a PhD from somewhere else, that means high-tech, MIT or some university to work with those stuff. That means if you know Java or Python, if you have small programming knowledge, you can deal with those codes, and they are self-learning. And then most of those 2 things, cloud-based and connected, really related to the C, that means connected C, and then my 3Cs. And you don't need to be IT admin, that means to work with those devices. Even especially the Raspberry Pi, if you go to the Raspberry Pi site, not only that, because I have more experience on that, that is why I am telling you. If you go to that site, you can see they are targeting the children. Their videos and everything, they are targeting the children, because they wanted to give that impression this is very easy to learn, and well, because you don't need IT geek or IT savvy guy to do those things. And especially the Arduino, if you watch that video about Arduino, their main target was to bring this practical stuff to the secondary level schools, that means grade 7 to grade 10. So therefore, if you are planning a device, that means some kind of IoT device or this kind of device, is not like old days. You have to think about this stuff. Otherwise, your device goes past and other device will pass your stuff. And then the third thing, it should be connected. It should not be a dumb device that works with its own. It should be connected to the other device or the other external systems which can understand this language and talk to others and get the knowledge and get educated and do the work better than they did in the past. So that is another factor. Finally, the most crucial, which is most of the time we are omitting that fact, it should have nice UI and UX. After this I will tell you a nice example for this, because normally, especially when that we also have that quality. Because when we are designing, we are not worrying about that thing. Okay, things are working, now it is fine. So even we are not worrying about how people are using, how easy it is to other people. If it is functioning, we say okay, our work is done. But that is not going in IoT, modern IoT. You have to think about this part as well. Otherwise, you are not going forward. This is a good example. Most of you have heard about this Google Bot Nest, and it is 2.3 billion, and especially in cash, not in stocks. So this is just a thermostat company, and this is just a thermostat, and cost only, if you are going to build that from the open source thermostat that available, you can build that around, I think, $100. I have not done, but they have mentioning the list and everything in the open source thermostat. You can do that in that range. But this device, it cost $250. And Google bought that for this much amount. Why? Because you can see it has all the features I told previously. And it is very nice looking, nice UI and UX, everything. And especially it is connected. It is connected to the cloud, and it is talking to the cloud and sending some valuable information to the cloud. And there's a nice article, I will share the slides and you can find that in this wired.com. And they are saying the thing is, now if Google wants, that means Google control you only when you are sitting in, that means you are sitting at your computer. If you take your eyeballs out of that computer, Google can't know, Google doesn't know about you. But with this device, and it has a not only thermostat, it has some motion sensors and everything. Once you place this thing in your living room, it sends data about how many people in there, and what are the times you are coming in and out. Everything is there. So using that, Google can do lots of things. Still they have not done, I think, but future they will do lots of things using this data. But now control is not with you. You don't need to sit at a computer and do some search to provide some values to Google. That is the value Google sees here. Because it is connected and it is sending some information to the cloud or some other relevant parties. And especially, it is very nice. Not like other thermostat devices you may see, it is very nice looking. And function wise, it changes colors and everything is there. It is the same guy who developed iPhone and second iPod started this company, and now it is going in different direction. So what I want to tell is, that is the main reason. This is the main reason we start this meetup. We wanted to form this meetup. There are lots of creativity. That means we are having that with us. But what I experienced is, what I noticed is, once you enter to especially the advanced level, it is going away. And then you have become lazy and lazier to do something like this. Because in the school, in the school time, you wanted to do lots of things and lots of innovative stuff, but it is fading away. And most of the time, due to our industry system and all, we know that engineers who are working on electronics, electrical systems and all, they have moved into the software, and most of their skills are not used and not used in an efficient way. So this is the best chance. Now people are not, there's a new path has been opened, IoT, and it's not just electronics and it's not just programming, it's something combination of that. So there's a best chance to go with this and wake up your sleeping innovator and start to do something. And it is not hard to work, like if you have done some electronics, you know how hard it is to do that in Sri Lanka, especially with the devices and all other materials. But with these devices, especially Arduino and all these development boards, that most of the burden has taken away. So you can design your stuff and you can work on that part as well. So therefore, please think about this and come up with some ideas and try to, yes, you have ideas most of the time, but what you are doing is telling one of your friends and that is that. You get some comments and that's all. You are not proceeding from there onwards. It should not be a world-changing idea. It is something that's facilitated to make your work a bit more efficient. Then fine, go for it and do that. Do a small prototype and try it. Then only you feel that you are in the show. Right? That is what we wanted from here, because so far we have seen there are lots of programs, that is software related stuff, but not something in this. That is why we wanted to initiate this. And I will tell you one example. This is something related to me, because I am living in a rent house. I wanted to make my switches smart. There are smart switches available. If you can see that this is the middle one. This is the built-in smart switch, and it is not fitting with the form factors we are having in our houses. You know, our huge switch boxes, but it is very thin. And if I wanted to replace my switches with this built-in, I have to do a big change in my house, and my house owner is not allowing to do that. So, and therefore, I was thinking to create an add-on, simple add-on, and plug that into switch, and then control using a Raspberry Pi or some development board. Connect that to writing a simple web service or web server there, and control that over the internet. And this small plugin will do the electronics parts. So this is not a world-changing idea, but this is valuable to me, because this is not the first smart switch, because there are lots of smart switches available, but it's not fitting my requirement. So I can't replace those with the available ones in the market. So I wanted to do that, but still I'm working on this. But software part, since I'm software engineer, I did that in 2-3 days. But electronics, I'm learning and doing. So still it is in the progress stage. Likewise, but what I wanted to say is, if you have some idea like this, it's kind of a simple, basic idea. Go for it and get your experience. And then one day you will be, if you are a very smart guy, you will be ended up in somewhere else. That means like Nest. So some other. So there's another nice story. That is also with our guy. So here a problem with, especially when you go to this, you know that Susan tables. That means rotating tables. Dishes are there, and especially with the meat curries, where several times he had some grain spills. When the table is moving, when you want to get that, and because he's a very tiny thin guy, yes, and he has set up his prototype as well there. And what he wanted is, he wanted, rather than manually controlling this stuff, because if you want to control this manually, some people taking from here and one is dragging from there, like it's a mess. So he wanted the solution, and he called it smart system. And what he did is, simply he puts some small switch there, and with each and every sitting he places a switch, and when someone wants a dish, it's a color or number, switch is number. If assume that if you want something in the number 2 and he places number 2, then it rotates and comes to it. Likewise, it is automatically controlled, and you can see a sample there, and he has done a prototype, and you can shoot your questions once this is done. So likewise, very simple ideas. Those are not world-changing words, but simply it is for your requirement. Go for this and do something. Then you will learn something from that. So we are not, that means just anyone can talk, anyone can say, okay, go for it and do that. But we are not stopping from there. As a IoT group, we are planning to set up something that we are planning to encourage you to do some things like that. So if you have idea, you can go for it. We will, with our caliber, we will support yourself. And it is some event that we are organizing. Especially, that means if you have an idea, first think, okay, this is a world-changing idea. Don't discourage, okay, this is very simple, someone has done that. That's fine. Because same time, when you get an idea, same time, 1,000 people will get that idea. You don't need to go for a patent first time, but you think, okay, this is a world-changing idea. Then dream, you can just document it, and then try to contact us. These are the contact points that you can talk. And then we will give you the guidance. That means especially what we are planning is, we are going to inside this meetup group, not from ourselves, not from the organizers, all the volunteers. If you want to part of this event and the committee, please talk to us and we will form a nice committee, and we got some sponsorship from Inter, and then we can, if we have more ideas and several proposals, only at that time we have 5 Galileo boards, and so we can give for the best 5 proposals. If we have more than 5, we have to select with our committee, and then we can provide this board for the best 5, and we can guide you, and with the all our capabilities and all other facilities we have to make a prototype and do something, do this thing that is possible, realistic. So finally, not all, but at least one, we will be able to deal, not this year, but definitely if we as software engineers or the IT engineers and nothing like that, as an engineers, if we put into this field, it is very sure we can reach the world with this label made in Dilunika in the very near future. So we are here, that means not us, that means as a community, we will support the guys who wanted to do that, and if you have something, just go for it and try to make it and try to contact us. So that is what I want to tell about as the introduction session, and from next meetups onwards, we will talk about some technical stuff and all the technical experience we have related to the things. And for I like to thank you all for participating in that. And next, an exciting event, and you will get some information and you will get some knowledge and most of the exciting things about this practical project we did. So I stop my stuff from here. Thanks for listening.